Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's been so very nice meet you here again in English session learning. So this time I do really love to introduce you into a new material. But before that, I would like to remind you about the jargon of our school, or what do we call as our motto, or kind of like that. Deket, dede, and imut, right? So it's supposed to be close, attentive, and affection. So today meeting, I do really love to remind you again about the student attendance that you do really need to peel off in student learning forum. Alright? And let's get it on. Our material of today is about narrative text. Do you know something about this narrative text? I bet you know. Of course, in junior high school, you have already know this as a basic to learn how the narrative is told in our life. And then, see, why do we as a learner need to know a narrative text? So, in here, I do really would like to introduce you into basic competence of narrative text. We do really need to learn about narrative text because it will develop your ability as a student over the social function, over the text structure, over the language features of narrative in the English context, which means you may will have your fun when you read something like a story. So as I see here, then as you can see here, that narrative writing tells a story. Let's just see here. Take a look. You might familiar with this story, right? You can find Aladdin story and then White Snow story, right? It's supposed to be included into fantasy one. So in fantasy story, you could find like fable things, something that relate into animal story, and then you could find a legend that you can see in like Sangkuriang or Malingkundang thing, Malingkundang, yeah. And then again, you could see another folktale. Folktale means a story from old people. They told the story from one person to another, but there is no proof or evidence in writing thing. So that's what we call folktale. And then again, fairy tales, like this already you see in the picture. This is fairy tales. And myth, myths, it's kind of mythos or something coming from myth, but it's kind of like it is true as it is, but it is kind of a myth. It's different with a true one. So let's see again. Have you already watched or seen this all of kind of movie like Harry Potter? And I bet you have already watching the movie or reading the story from the book regarding the title of Jack and the Beanstalk. And then Lutung Kasarung could be for you Indonesian student. And there, the second picture, you can see, what is that? Cinderella. I guess it is Cinderella. There you go. When you become a writer of narrative story, you do really need to consider the definition, the purpose, the generic structure, and the language feature on it, because as the writer, you need to know the rule to tell it. When you know the rule, and then you will find what makes reader interest to read your story or your writing. Okay? See, the first one, the definition of the narrative, it's supposed to be a story that is created in constructive format. What does it mean with constructive format? Which means on the story, when you try to write it down, you need to follow the constructive. You need to write it as constructive as it is in generic structure. And then after that, a story that is created in a constructive format that describe a sequence. So there is a sequence on it, which means there is a serial event in it. And then again, fiction, it could be fictional. So something can be said as fictional because it is an imagination or it is a fantasy. And then again, non-fiction. You can see here it is non-fiction. What do we call like non-fiction in here? It is kind of when you want to tell a story based on a true story. So we can say it as non-fictional, or it could be as narrative factual or factual narrative, kind of like that. Let's get it on. So here it is. As a writer, we do really need to consider that we know the purpose. Why do we really need to write the story for the reader? Why is that so? Because you have a purpose to entertain and provide enjoyment. What does that mean? It means you need to amuse people when they read your story or your writing. And then again, what else for the purpose? Here you can see the second one on the yellow box. It is to transport the reader into imaginary world. Yes, of course. When you ask the reader to imagine something and you write something about something that really incredible or good thing in your story, so the reader can imagine something as the story indeed what you tells on the writing. And then again, the last thing, the purpose on it is to teach life lesson. Of course, when you read imaginary thing, when you read fiction, when you read narrative text, make sure that it gives something benefit for the reader, which means you can learn kind of moral value for the reader. And then again, in generic structure, when you want to write down in paragraph things, you need to consider this one, like in generic structure. As you can see, for the example, the first paragraph, you could find the orientation. As in orientation, you could find kind of setting on something or setting of the story. You could find the background of the story, the place, and then the character on it. As I stated in here, it is about the opening paragraph where the character of the story are introduced. So we need to put the character here, the place, the setting of the situation, so the people who read your story can imagine where the background is. And then again, go to the next paragraph, you could see, you could find, you could put your writing into complication. In complication, there is a tension, there is a crisis, there is a climax of the story. So that's what makes a story is getting interesting for everyone, right? For reader. And then again, the last thing, after you put some paragraphs on complication, you could put resolution. What resolution does it mean? It is showing the problem is resolved, which means the crisis getting resolved. So either it is happy ending or sad ending, that's your choice. What do you want to write on your story? And then again, let's see. I give you the illustration of surface in narrative text. When I'm showing this, you could imagine that this is kind of a part in paragraph you need to consider about. The first one in orientation. I should like to give you or to describe you a story here. For example, I would like to tell you a story and the title is The Lion and the Mouse, yeah? In the orientation paragraph, in the orientation plot in here, I would like to say, once upon a time, in the jungle of Indonesia, yeah? In Indonesian jungle. Okay, in the jungle, you could see there is a lion and a mouse. The lion feels so very hungry that day. The lion sees the mouse, and he would like to eat the mouse. The lion catch the mouse, and then the mouse is in lion's hands. But the mouse getting cry and scream and scare of the lion, and he said, "Please let me go, lion, let me go. Please, I beg your mercy." The mouse said like that. And the lion said, "Why should I release you?" The mouse said then, "I would like to give you any kindness if you let me go. In return, I would like to give you any kindness. I promise to you." The lion just laughing. He actually, while he is laughing, he just grant the mouse asking. And then on the complication, let's just say the mouse has been released by the lion. Go to the complication. Suddenly, while walking in the jungle, the lion was alone walking, and then he got trapped in human trap, like in a net. And then he got trapped. He was inside of the net of human trap, and he screamed. He screamed, and then, "Help me! I got trapped in human trap in a net. Please help me! Let me go!" And he screamed and screamed and screamed again. He roared louder, and mouse could hear it. He come through to the lion, and he said, "What is going on, lion? I'm trying to release you now. Remember, I would like to give you a good thing now as a return that you released me yesterday." Then again, on the resolution. But I would not continue this story till you see something kind of our breaking time here. You would love to see how the committee of Mekar Arum Senior High School show something in here, and I do really happy if you want to see and getting know them. Happy watching. Let's just continue our story. We at the end, at the last thing, you just already heard about the complication step in this illustration. So, as you can see on the complication, there is a problem show up, right? there is a tension, there is a climax of the story. When there is no complication in a story, there will be no something interesting for reader, right? When you just tell a story in flat or kind of like there is nothing special, you just can say, once upon a time there is a hero, and then there is a bad guy, the hero rescue a good guy from the bad guy, the end. It is not interesting when you just tell a story like that. There is no complication in it. So let's just continue our story about the lion and the mouse. When it comes to the resolution, finally the mouse released the lion from human trap or from the net. So the code or coda, the coda is optional thing. It means you can put here, you can put in your paragraph or not. It is your choice. It is optional. But the coda is introducing reader into moral value. For example, when you would like to put the coda at the end of your writing, you can say, as the story you have already read, you could learn something. You could take the life lesson. The life lesson is we need to be so very kind to another human or the other one or another person. It's like the story it is. Then again, what do we could see here? See, this is more clearly if you would like to put the paragraph of your story into writing. See this one? In this Cinderella story, you could find orientation, complication, resolution, and coda. In orientation, you could see there is a setting of time, place, and character. There is Cinderella there is stepsister, and then there is stepmother. And the story is supposed to be like, once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl called Cinderella. She lived with her stepsister and stepmother. They were very bossy. She had to do all the housework. That's the orientation. And then we are going to the complication. Actually, the complication I put here is very short, but if you want to make your own story, make sure that you put another paragraph in it, right? So the complication is, one day, an invitation to the ball came to the family. Her stepsister didn't let her go, and Cinderella was very sad. The stepsister went to the ball without her. So that's the complication. You need to add another event which showing that Cinderella is desperate or something. In resolution, you can see, fortunately, the fairy godmother came and helped her to get to the ball. At the ball, Cinderella danced with the friends. The friends fell in love with her, and then he married her. What a short, right? So when you find it is too short, add it up. Just add it up as you wish. And then again, at the coda, you could find they lived happily ever after. So the resolution, after the resolution, there is coda. Or you could find another sentence like they lived happily ever after what is going through by Cinderella. And just be a good person as the story, as Cinderella did. Then again, what do we really need to know in language features? In here, when you would like to write down your story, a narrative story, you need to be so very careful and focus on language features, because in it you could find some grammatical thing, like you need to focus and put a specific participants. You cannot put too many participants, because in writing, the reader will get confused. Which one is the main participant? Which one is the B, the C, the D, and the other? And then again, past tense or past simple. We do really need to put these tenses, and you could find a lot of past tense as a reader when you read a narrative story. The third, sequence, marker, and conjunction. Of course, you could find conjunction in all of the story of writing or narrative text, because conjunction could showing like after that, next, finally, at the end. That's conjunction. And then again, you could find or you could put as a writer an adverb and adverbial phrases. Adverb like quickly, yesterday, this time, and adverbial phrase, which mean the collection of the adverb in one word or more than one word, kind of at the moment, at this time, at that time, kind of like that. So it means when you see phrases within the collection of the word, but it has one function as an adverb, it is adverbial phrase. And then again, for material process, we do really need to put action verb. The action verb could be like run, run. The second verb of run is ran, like that. And then again, you could put ride, and then you could put kick, something like that, kick, yeah. And then again, direct and indirect speech. In here, you could see direct in grammatical, like when we say something, the sentence or the expression, we say it directly to the person. It's kind of different with indirect. Indirect means another one or the second one or the second person saying a sentence and repeat the sentence what we do say before, and he said it to another one too, like that. So I do really would love to explain this, the last thing, direct and indirect speech, but at another session of English, because it will take time and you need to comprehend deeply. There you go. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention. I do really hope you feel the reflection in our forum, in our learning forum group. And don't forget, keep yourself safe. Put your mask on, and then bring your hand sanitizer everywhere. And remember all of the jargon of our school, like deket, dedeh, and imat, close, affectionate, and attentive. Have a great day, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Batur jenuh balarea, hayu urang nyupri ilmu, di sekolah nu kememet, mekar arum anu tangtu. Mekar arum ngadeg weweg, jejer sanjung inawasi, sekolah anu pinuju, mekar arum anu tangtu. A I U
deket rejeng imet ngatik ngasuh siswa-siswi gemet imet mulasara ngajeje